While watching a horror movie, you must have noticed some people making the sign of a cross. The same can be seen in an exam hall too. After all, a mathematics exam is no less than a horror movie for some. In this show, I'm going to teach you how a new sign that is somewhat similar to doing a sign of a cross, and this sign will surely help you solve multiplications in a jiffy. It's called the vertically and crosswise multiplication method. And I promise you that with this method, you will be able to solve some of the biggest multiplication sums, and that too just by solving them mentally. Anything is possible with Vedic maths. Even a subject like maths becomes really easy and fun. So what are we guys waiting for? For a wise man once said, beginning early is work half done. So let's get on with our show and learn how to solve 2 digits into 2 digits multiplication. In this method, we'll follow a visual pattern. Here we multiply vertically and crosswise. Using this pattern, we can multiply any 2-digit numbers, that too without breaking into a sweat. So first of all, let's understand how this pattern works. Let us start with an example. Let's say 12 multiplied by 43. Step 1. We'll focus on these dots. And now all you need to do is visualize them as numbers. So our first step is to multiply vertically. So we will multiply 3 with 2, and that gives us 6. Now we will place 6 on the place of the units. This becomes the first part of our answer. Just keep your focus on the dots. I'm sure everything is crystal clear so far. Step 2. So now under step 2, we will crosswise multiply and then add the answer that comes. So firstly, we multiply 3 multiplied by 1 and then add the answer that we get with the answer of 4 by 2. Now 3 by 1 gives us 3 and 4 by 2 is 8. So 8 plus 3 gives us 11. I hope everyone is following me so far. Why won't you? There would be no confusion. It's that simple, isn't it?
All we need to remember is that when we write our answer, that is 11, we will place 1 on the tens place and the rest to be carried over to the next step. So the remaining one that is to be carried forward will be placed a little lower so that we remember there is a carryover. Got it?
Step 3. Now in the final step, we will vertically multiply once again. Keep in mind that here we are multiplying 4 into 1. So 4 multiplied by 1 is equal to 4 plus carry over 1 from the previous step. That would give us our second part of the answer, which is 5. So that brings us to our final answer, which is 516. Now, isn't that absolutely amazing? All you got to do is just keep visualizing, and within seconds, we get the answers for double-digit multiplications. For a wise man once said that what you search for is within. And in this case, it stands true. It's all in your mind. Now, let's take a closer look to understand this pattern further. Like I said earlier, this method is called vertically and crosswise multiplication method. In this, the first step is to vertically multiply on the right hand side, while the second step is to crosswise multiply and add the results. And finally, we vertically multiply on the left hand side. In case of a carryover in any of the steps, we carry forward it to the next step and then add it. And that's about it. Just remember these 3 steps and you'll be able to solve the most difficult looking multiplications, that too within seconds. Now let's try one more example. Let's say we have 78 into 69. Step 1. First of all, place these numbers one above the other and then we will multiply 9 by 8. So 9 into 8 gives us 72. But if you don't remember your tables, it might be a little bit of a struggle, but I'm sure you're quite familiar with your tables. So here we place 2 as a units digit and we'll carry over 7 to the next step. Here ends our first step of vertical multiplication. For a wise man once said that well begun is half done. Step 2. Under the second step, we crosswise multiply and then add the answer that we get. So we multiply 9 into 7 plus 6 into 8 to get 111, which we add with 7 that we had carried over from the previous step, giving us 118. So for now, we will write 8 and carry over 11 to the next step. Got it so far? Step 3. Now time for a final step. We will vertically multiply 6 and 7. So 6 into 7 equals 42. This we will add with 11 carried over from the previous step, giving us 53. And thus our final answer becomes 5,382. Isn't this a super fast method? I promise you that if you master this method, then you would be able to solve multiplications mentally, anytime, any place. Using these 3 steps, you will be solving double-digit multiplications in the time it takes to snap a finger. It might look a little complicated at first, but once you learn, it's really fun to use, and especially you'll love it when your friends won't stop praising you. Now let's see how 2-digit with 1-digit multiplications are solved using the vertically and crosswise method. This is by far the simplest of the lot. Piece of cake, I must say. I hope you're excited because I am. So let's start with our first example. 34 multiplied by 8. Step 1. Our first step is to place a 0 before 8 so that it becomes a double-digit figure. Then we apply the vertically and crosswise method that we just learned a few moments back. So now our sum looks something like this. 34 multiplied by 0, 8. Step 2. Now in step 2, we vertically multiply 8 into 4. That will give us 32. And now we place 2 in the units place as the first digit of the answer, carrying over 3 to the next step. But keep in mind here that while writing 3, we'll place it a little lower so that we remember to carry it over later. Step 3. Now it's time to multiply crosswise and then add, just like we did in the previous examples. So we will multiply 8 into 3 plus 0 into 4, which equals 24. And now we will add the carryover digit 3 with the answer. So that equals 27. As we did before, here too, we will write down 7 and carry over 2 to the next step. So we need to place 2 a little lower than 7 just to remind us later that we have a carryover. Step 4. In the final step, we multiply vertically. That is 0 into 3 plus 2. The carryover from the previous step, remember? So it becomes the last digit of our sum, and that brings us to our complete answer, that is 272. It's amazing fun, isn't it? Let's solve one more example. I'm sure with this method, you'll no more find maths as dull or as boring a subject as you thought it was. So how about 78 into 6? Step 1. Now the first step is to make 6 turn into a double digit. So for that, all we have to do is add a 0 before 6. After that, we apply the formula of vertically and crosswise multiplication to get our answer. Step 2. So as practiced earlier, we vertically multiply between 6 and 8. So 6 into 8 gives us 48. See, it's so easy because you know your tables. So now you know how important it is to revise your tables every time. Now next, we will place 8 in the units place, and then we will carry over 4 to the next step. Step 3, as you may know by now, the third step is always crosswise multiplication and then addition. So 6 into 7 is 42 and 0 into 8 is 0. When added, we get 42. Now we add 4 with 42 because 4 is a carryover digit from the previous step. So that gives us 46. Now again, the same funda is to be applied. We place 6 on the left hand side and will carry over 4 to the next step. Understood so far? It's very, very simple. Step 4. Now in the final step, we vertically multiply between 0 and 7. This gives us 0 because any number multiplied with 0 always equals 0. Now 0 plus a carryover 4 from the previous step will give us 4. So our complete answer now becomes 468. This is super fast multiplications. In today's competitive world, it is speed that matters. It helps you stay ahead, and speed is what counts the most when it comes to any competitive examination. This is where Vedic Maths can help you stay ahead of the competition. It not only makes calculations super fast and easy, but also helps you gain confidence, gives you that much needed competitive edge. For a wise man once said that it is the decisions that we take today that affect our future. So let's all be wise and adopt Vedic Maths in our daily routine. Now let us move on to 3-digit by 3-digit multiplications. This method might require a little bit of patience, but this method is really helpful and important for you. So pay a little extra attention. Let's start with some easy numbers first, so that you understand it very well, and then slowly and gradually we'll move on to bigger numbers. In this method, we multiply two 3-digit numbers with each other and we follow 5 main steps. Here too, we multiply vertically and crosswise just like we did in the earlier sums. So let's understand this further. Our sum here is 123 into 456. Step 1. Now as usual, our first step is to multiply vertically. So we multiply 6 into 3 and that gives us 18. So placing 8 in the units place, we carry over 1 to the next step. Just like before, absolutely no change here. Step 2. Here too we will follow our tried and tested method, that is to multiply crosswise and then add. So in this sum, we'll multiply 6 into 2 plus 5 into 3, which comes to 27 plus 1, the remaining carryover from the previous step, and that gives us 28. This 8 should be placed a little lower and the remaining 2 will be carried over to the next step, step 3. Now this step is a little different than what we did in the earlier examples, so pay a little more attention here. If you look a little closer, this step looks like a star formation. So we will name this step as a star step. Isn't it a cool name for a multiplication step? Now here we multiply 6 into 1, which equals to 6, plus 4 into 3, which equals to 12, plus 5 into 2, which equals to 10. Got it? Now 6 plus 12 plus 10 gives us 28, plus 2, our carryover from the previous step, which now gives us 30. And now we will write 0 and carry over 3 to the next step. I'll repeat once again, pay close attention. We first multiply 6 into 1 plus 4 into 3 plus 5 into 2 is equal to 28. Then the carryover from the previous step is added, so 2 plus 28 becomes 30. Now we place 0 and carry over 3 to the next step. I hope everything is clear so far because it's very, very simple. And step 4. This is the easiest step of them all. Here we multiply crosswise. So 5 into 1 plus 4 into 2. Now 5 into 1 will give us 5 plus 4 into 2, which gives us 8. So 5 plus 8 equals to 13 plus 3, the carryover from the last step. Thus we get 16. We now place 6 and carry forward the remaining one to the next step. Step 5. Finally now we multiply 4 and 1. So 4 into 1 gives us 4 plus 1 from the last carryover, which gives us 5. And so now 5 becomes the last digit of our answer. When combined, our final answer becomes 56,088. All we got to remember is that under 3-digit multiplications, all the steps are just the same till step 4 as done in earlier examples. It is only in step 5 that there is a little bit of a difference. But once you understand it, it's very, very easy. So let us solve some more examples to understand the pattern in 3-digit multiplications. I'm sure you would agree that this method is amazingly simple. Our first step is to multiply vertically and second step is to multiply crosswise. While our third step is called the star step and last 2 steps are to crosswise and vertically multiply again. All we have to do is solve according to the arrow pointing towards the dots. You just have to understand the pattern. So what say? Want to solve another sum? Let's take 231 into 745. Now this time I'm going to give you some time. Let's see how much time you take to actually solve this using this technique. Slowly and gradually, as you practice more and more, the time you take to solve these sums will eventually come down and soon you'll be able to do these sums within seconds. So let's see stepwise how to solve 231 into 745. Step 1. Our first step is really simple. We multiply 5 and 1 vertically. So 5 times 1 equals 5 and this becomes the first digit that we will place below. Step 2. Now in second step, we crosswise multiply. So 5 into 3 plus 4 into 1, exactly the way the pattern is formed between the dots. So 5 into 3 plus 4 into 1 gives us 19. So now we will place 9 below and then carry 1 to our next step. Step 3. Now comes our third step. That is the easiest to solve. We had named this step. Yes, sir. We call it the star step. So under this step, we multiply 5 into 2 plus 7 into 1 plus 4 into 3. And this, when simplified, gives us 29 plus, remember the carryover one from the previous step, which becomes now 30. So we place 0 as the middle part of our answer and we'll carry over 3 to the next step. Understood so far? Doesn't this step make your eyes twinkle? Of course it should. It's called a star step, right? Step 4. The remaining last 2 steps are very simple. As you already know, in this step we multiply crosswise. So we will multiply 4 into 2 plus 7 into 3, which equals 29, plus carryover of 3 from the last step, which now gives us 32. Now we will place 2 below and carry over 3 to the next step, step 5. In the final step, we vertically multiply. So 7 into 2 is equal to 14. So we add 14 with the carried over 3 from the previous step, giving us 17. And this 17, we will now place below. So when combined, our final answer forms as 1,72,095. Doesn't it feel amazing when we get the answer right? Get used to this feeling because you're getting very good at it. As and when you keep practicing, you will notice that your speed keeps increasing. In the beginning, you might feel that it's a little difficult and mistakes may happen, but that doesn't mean that you give up easily, okay? For a wise man once said that quitters never win and winners never quit. And I promise you that if you keep practicing this technique, then you will be able to solve super fast calculations, and that too mentally. At times, we might get a sum that needs us to multiply 3-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. This is nothing but an extension of 3-digit by 3-digit. So to multiply a 3-digit by a 2-digit, all we have to do is put a 0 before the 2-digit, which then becomes a 3-digit. So then you can easily apply the 3-digit by 3-digit vertically and crosswise pattern. This is no different than what we've been doing so far, and I know that you've become an expert in that. It's that simple, trust me. So let's multiply 321 into 42. Step 1. Now in the first step, we add a 0 before 42 to make it a 3-digit number, like this, 042. So now this becomes a simple 3-digit by 3-digit sum. So after this, we multiply 042 with 321 and then apply the vertically and crosswise rule, just as the earlier sums. So in the first step, what do? Vertical multiplication. So here we multiply 2 with 1, that gives us 2 as a digit for the units place. Step 2. Now in the next step, we crosswise multiply and then add. So when we multiply 2 into 2 plus 4 into 1, it gives us 8. Now 8 becomes a part of the answer and we will place it below like this. Step 3. Time to twinkle. Our star multiplication step is here. Under this method, we solve calculations in the formation of a star. So 2 into 3 plus 0 into 1 plus 4 into 2 equals 14. Isn't it really interesting and easy to remember? So now we place 4 below and carry over the remaining one to the next step. Understood so far, right? Step 4. Now we come to our fourth step. What do we do under this step? You're correct. We crosswise multiply. So let's multiply 4 into 3 plus 0 into 2, that equals 2 plus 1 from the previous step, so that gives us 13. Now we'll write 3 below like this and carry forward 1 to the next step, step 5. So in the final step, we vertically multiply. So 0 into 3, as you all know, equals to 0 plus 1, the carryover from the last step, that makes it 1. For a wise man once said that it is very, very important that you clear old dues. So no more carry forwards. So when we place 1 and combine it with the rest, we get our final answer, which is 13,482. This is why Vedic maths is really amazing. Using the vertically and crosswise multiplication method, you will be able to solve the biggest of multiplications. I give you my guarantee. Just keep practicing and giving your best. So let's take one more example. How about 738 into 63? Step 1. Now in this first step, we convert the 2-digit number into a 3-digit number. And how do we do that? Simple, just by adding a 0 in front of 63. So now this sum becomes 738 into 063. Let's multiply. 3 into 8, so 3 times 8 gives us 24. I hope you remember the tables, huh? So we place 4 in the units place and carry over 2 to the next step as always. Step 2. Next we multiply crosswise. So 3 into 3 plus 8 into 6 equals 9 plus 48 is equal to 57. Now we add 57 with 2. Remember the carryover from our previous step, giving us 59. So we write 9 below at the tens place and carry over 5 to the next step. Understood? Step 3. Roll down the red carpet. It's time for the star multiplication step. Now we will multiply in the star formation. So 3 into 7 plus 0 into 8 plus 6 into 3 equals 21 plus 0 plus 18, and that in turn equals 39. So with 39, we now add 5. Remember the carryover from the previous step, giving us now 44. Now we will note down 4 in the hundreds place and then carry 4 over to the next step, just as we've been doing so far in the earlier steps. Step 4. In this step, we crosswise multiply, as you already know. So now 6 into 7 plus 0 into 3 equals 42. And 42 plus 4 from the previous step gives us 46. This 6 we will place below while carrying forward 4 to the next step. Step 5. So now in the final step, what do? We vertically multiply. So 0 into 7 obviously gives us 0, because 0 into any digit equals 0 only. Now we add 4 to it. That makes it 4. And with this, we reach our final answer. So our complete answer now becomes 46,494. Now all you need to do is just follow these simple steps and the calculation becomes really simple. Let's try and solve another example, that too mentally. I hope you're ready. Awesome. Let's take the example, 789 multiplied by 6. Step 1. Under step 1, we multiply 7 and 6, which gives us 42. Now you got to keep this in mind, okay? Step 2. In the next step, we multiply 8 and 6. So here the answer we get is 48. Make a mental note here that we now have two numbers. So now what do? We combine and add the middle digits 2 and 4. Please keep in mind that we will only add the middle digits. So now this gives us 468. You need to remember this mentally. Step 3. Finally under this step, we multiply 9 with 6, which gives us 54. So now we have two numbers in our mind, 468 and 54. Again, we will add the middle digits. So 468 plus 5, that brings us to our answer, 4,734. Can you believe it? We did all of this, and that too mentally. Let's keep up the good work and solve another example. Let's multiply 369 into 7. Step 1. As usual, we multiply 3 into 7, that gives us 21. Now, if you wish to solve such super fast multiplications, then you also need to know super fast tables. We need to make a mental note of the answer that we got. Step 2. Now in the next step, we multiply 6 and 7. So here we get 42. So there are two numbers that we need to keep in our mind. Now all we need to do is that we will combine and add the middle digits. That is 1 and 4. So that gives us 252 in our mind. Am I correct? I hope I am. Step 3, in the last and final step, we multiply 9 and 7, which gives us 63. Again, for super fast calculations, you need to know the tables well. Tables are the keys to this lock. Now we have two numbers in our mind, 252 and 63, correct? So time to add the middle digits of our numbers. So we now have 252 plus 6, and that gives us our final answer, 2,583. I hope after solving so many examples, this concept would have become crystal clear in your mind, isn't it? With this, you are now an official guru in multiplications. I'm sure you would be able to solve any 3-digit into 1-digit multiplication, and that too mentally. Now to keep up with the same pace, we need to practice a little more, don't we? So what are we waiting for? Let's get going. As you all know, our body has 5 main senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Out of all these senses, the most important sense is that of sight, meaning your vision, your eyesight. This is why our eyes are most important to us. They help us see and understand things, for a wise man once said that one should only believe the things seen by the eyes. Often we visualize things that we like, and we are able to do that using our right brain. And in most of the cases, our right brain is always right. So if you believe that you won the best student award and hang a picture of it in your room, then slowly and gradually your mind will get tuned into believing that, because the mind does what you tell it to do. Always remember that you're the one who controls your mind and not vice versa. Okay, I hope you understood what I meant. So work hard to fulfill your dreams, learn how to visualize your goals, and then act on it. Before we end the show, let's do a small recap. Let's see what all we did today. Firstly, we learned how to solve 2-digit into 2-digit multiplication using the vertically and crosswise sutra. We solved the multiplications using the vertically and crosswise method from right to leftwards. I know, your right brain must be showing you flashes in your mind. That's the beauty of the visual medium. For a wise man once said that we remember those things the most that are of utmost importance to us. And this definitely is important to achieve our goals. Step 1, vertically. Step 2, crosswise. And step 3, vertically. After that, we saw how to multiply 2-digit with 1-digit multiplications. Here we added a 0 before single digit and then multiplied it vertically and crosswise. Remember? Awesome. In the later part, we learned how to solve 3-digit with 3-digit multiplications with the help of vertically and crosswise method. Under this method, we followed 5 steps and we did our calculations from right to left. Step 1, vertically. Step 2, crosswise. Step 3, star. Step 4, crosswise. And step 5, vertically. In this episode, we also learned how to solve 3-digit with 2-digit multiplications with the help of the vertically crosswise sutra. Here too, we added a 0 before the 2-digit number to turn it into a 3-digit number. And finally, we learned how to multiply any 3-digit number with any single-digit number, that too mentally. We also understood the importance of visualization and how it helps us achieve our goals and the importance of setting goals to get ahead in life. So with that, we come to the end of this show. Remember, always keep practicing and keep learning newer and exciting Vedic maths techniques. For a wise man once said that practice makes a man perfect, especially if that man has to solve multiplication sums. Yeah. Okay, I know these are all my wisecracks, but whatever I said will help you become a genius in mathematics. And now it's time for the wise man to say adios, amigos.